Okay, hello, National Zero Waste Conference attendees, and welcome to this session today called Standardized Framework for Zero Waste and Sustainable Materials Management. Today you'll be learning about the SWEEP standard by hearing from its founder, Rob Watson, and hearing from a few early adopters about their experience working to fold the standard into their various resource management operations, one municipally run and one privately owned and operated. So just what is SWEEP? Well, SWEEP stands for Solid Waste Environmental Excellence Performance Standard, and it envisions a world without waste where materials are valued and continually utilized for their highest and best purpose without causing harm to human health and the environment. It is a market transformation standard targeting municipalities and waste management service providers to identify and reward leaders in sustainable materials management. SWEEP also defines a roadmap to evaluate comprehensive policies and calculate achievement metrics, as well as provides performance benchmarks for sustainable waste collection, recovery, and disposal practices and technologies. So let's hop off into some intros, starting with myself. My name is Natasha Dyer. I currently serve as Community Programs Manager for the City of Atlanta, straddling the Mayor's Office of Resilience and Department of City Planning, where most of my work is centered around keeping food and other organic materials out of the waste stream as part of our climate action and food access plans. Long story short, I work to recover edible food to feed people and work on some pretty cool localized composting solutions where that compost goes right back into the city's urban agriculture installations, where we are trying to increase food access for our low income and low access neighborhoods. Of course, we've got Rob Watson here with us, the creator of SWEEP, who will be giving us an overview of the certification program and process. Rob is an international leader in market transformation, being the creator of the LEED Green Building Certification, the most recognizable green building certification standard in the world, with more than 170 countries using LEED to certify that that building is green. Rob currently is a principal at Upland Road Advisors, an innovator in waste separation and processing that can recycle 90% of the waste stream. Also with us today is Bob Watts, who is the executive director at Chester County Solid Waste Authority, located just outside of Philadelphia. The authority operates a landfill gas collection system, composting operation, and a residential recycling drop-off. Bob will be giving us our government perspective of what it has been like to be part of the SWEEP pilot, starting by giving us a big picture context of state and local policy in his region, moving more towards sustainable materials management, and then sharing lessons learned and benefits of participating in the SWEEP pilot. And finally, we have Sal Evola, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, and Bart Miller representing Mount Diablo Resource Recovery, which is based in Concord, California, and they will give us a perspective from the private sector of what it has been like to be a part of the SWEEP pilot. Sal, the Director of Environmental and Regulatory Affairs with Mount Diablo, is the main day-to-day point of contact for all of the jurisdictions served by the recovery part. Sal's other responsibilities have included maintaining all governmental and regulatory compliance, environmental permitting, franchise management, and procurement, interfacing and maintaining relationships with all elected officials and government staff members at the local, state, and federal levels. Sal has also served as a former mayor and council member of the city of Pittsburgh, where he held elected office for over a decade. Bart Miller is the Director of Environmental Health and Safety at Mount Diablo and has over 30 years of expertise in the recycling and waste management industries. He is responsible for developing Mount Diablo's vision in safety excellence, managing their day-to-day environmental health and safety program compliance, and happy to celebrate year after year reductions in injuries and crashes. Also giving back to his community and being a support of education, Bart is a chief judge at the Contra Costa Science Fair and is responsible for identifying the best and brightest student projects in the environmental sciences category. Like Chester County before them, these two will also be giving us the big picture context of state and local policy and their region moving more towards sustainable materials management, and then sharing lessons learned and benefits of participating in SWEEP. If after the presentations you find yourself interested in learning more about or participating in the SWEEP standard, please reach out to them at info@sweepstandard.org. I will drop it in the chat. And now Rob will kick it off and lead us with his introduction of SWEEP.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Appreciate that great intro, and thank you so much for joining us. As Natasha mentioned, SWEEP stands for Solid Waste Environmental Excellence Performance. And I know it's not, using solid waste in the name isn't exactly within the terminology standards of the conference, but if we used either sustainable materials or zero waste, I'm not sure that SMEEP or ZWEEP exactly rolls off the tongue as well as SWEEP does. So until we can find out, figure out some better vocabulary, we're going to have to keep it with SWEEP. Next slide, please. So we'll talk a little bit about the background and how SWEEP was developed, what's actually in SWEEP, and then how you, our audience, can get involved. Next slide, please. Natasha did a great job of introducing our mission, and just to reiterate it, it's about identifying, rewarding, and defining leadership in sustainable materials management. Next slide, please. We launched SWEEP in 2016 with volunteer professional committees taking a playbook out of the development of the LEED process. At the end of 2020, we approved the SWEEP Plus standard for piloting, and at present, we are the only comprehensive sustainability standard for the solid waste management industry. Next, please. So the reason we need to standardize is ripping off of Peter Drucker's famous quote, "You can't manage what you don't measure." Our feeling is that you can't measure what you haven't defined. And one of the things that was particularly disturbing to me when I started getting into the solid waste industry almost a decade ago was how inconsistent data collection was, waste characterization. I mean, in short, waste data is garbage. And so I figured that if we are to move to a new framework, we would need some consistent definitions, consistent measurements, consistent approaches to managing discarded materials and repurposing them. And that's one of the main drivers of SWEEP. Next. So SWEEP and TRUE complement each other. SWEEP takes everything from the curbside on to its final method of disposition, whether it's diversion, disposal, reuse, et cetera. Next slide, please. And this complements TRUE, which deals with everything up to the curbside. When we were first outlining the development of the SWEEP standard, we took a special care to look at all of the requirements of the TRUE standard to ensure that if something coming out of TRUE had an analogous pathway past the curbside into SWEEP. So we really tried to do something that honored and recognized and complemented the existing TRUE standard, which focuses on companies and projects compared to the downstream infrastructure that SWEEP focuses on. Next, please. So SWEEP is going to be a system of standards. We, for whatever reason, back now 30 years ago, with LEED, decided to just focus on the top quartile of the market. We were taking a page out of the Energy Star program at that point, and that's sort of where LEED and the U.S. Green Building Council sort of drew the line. Was we would only focus on the top quartile of the market and leave the rest of it to others. In thinking about how to structure SWEEP, we decided that we would make it a system of standards that work together to provide a pathway of continuous improvement from, even below average performance all the way to zero waste with an interlocking, interconnected, consistent set of standards. So the first one out of the box is the LEED analog, which is SWEEP Plus. That addresses the top quartile of the market. And the SWEEP standard is intended to address the middle half of the market, the 25th to the 75th percentile. And then SWEEP Zero will be our lighthouse standard and a zero waste standard, and will be the next standard that we develop after we conclude the pilot for SWEEP Plus. Next, please. We took almost 2 years to develop the actual standards of SWEEP. We went through a modified American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, ANSI, leadership standard development process, working with the Institute for Transformation, Market Transformation to Sustainability, which is the same organization that led LEAD through its consensus process. We worked with them to develop a draft standard, go through a set of initial public meetings that we held in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. We had, great turnout where we workshopped and critiqued and commented on all the standards. And then once we incorporated all of those comments and felt it was ready to release for ballot, we released 2 ballot versions of the standard, addressed all of the comments in those standards, and by December 2020 had reached consensus with what we call the National Consensus Committee. If anybody on this presentation would like to participate in the National Consensus Committee, which basically involves you commenting on the standard, please put your interest and your name and contact information in the chat, and we'll add you to that when the when we do the public adoption of Sweep Plus for market release. Next, please. So anybody is eligible to be a member of Sweep. So local governments, materials management companies, and the folks that support them in the consulting nonprofit, equipment vendors, et cetera. To be a pilot or certified entity under Sweep, you must either be a local government or a material management company. And this can range from being a vertically integrated company dealing with, collection, transportation, processing, and disposal, or a standalone facility for composting, or a MRF, or a small hauler who wants to distinguish themselves environmentally from their competitors. Next, please. Sweep has been broken into 5 performance categories. We look at policy, we look at data and analysis, collection, material recovery, and finally, material disposal. Next. Okay, so each performance category has a number of credits, and those credits have a variety of points associated with them. So coming right out of the box, we put a fair amount of credit to having intent, i.e. policy, and that includes public involvement, and then the waste generation and prevention is data analysis, and waste prevention. And then collection gets into the mechanics, fleet efficiency, route optimization, safety, emissions, et cetera. And then post-collection recovery covers everything from, material recovery facilities, recycling rate, and over time, we will have, and then, finally, then we look at disposal. And I want to make it clear that we don't give any points for throwing things away, but if you are managing your disposal facilities well by capturing methane, reducing not having any complaints for noise or vermin or litter, et cetera, safety training, worker participation in safety committees, et cetera. Those kinds of things are what is credited under the post-collection disposal. And then we have an innovation category that's a catch-all for things that are either exemplary performance or things that we didn't think of. Next slide, please. So we have 4 categories in Sweep and Sweep Plus, ranging from certified to platinum. And as I mentioned before, Sweep 0 will be a binary pass-fail category. Next. Supporting certification, we've developed a certification manual. Most of our activity is online, so the certification manual is available electronically. It gives detailed breakdown of the requirements itself. It gives background on the particular issue, the intent, what are the environmental problems being addressed. It addresses the calculation methods, has calculators so that we have a consistent way of calculating a set of default values that people can use if they don't have measured or estimated data. It gives step-by-step instructions for how to go through each of the credits, definitions, and then for case studies and program ideas. So the idea is not only to give guidance on certification, but also just general background and ideas for what participants can do, and trying to disseminate and spread best practices. Next slide, please. We went directly to online forms. It was not until version 3 of LEAD that we got those, but we recognized how important those were. So we worked with Retrack Connect and their municipal measurement program platform to develop a set of easily filled out forms. Those forms are integrated with the online certification manual as well as calculators. So everything is contained through our certification portal, which is managed by the Retrack Connect team. Next slide, please. So to get involved with SWEEP, we would love folks on this call to get involved. As I mentioned, SWEEP 0 is going to be the next standard coming out of the box. So we're looking for folks to join SWEEP from the zero waste community so that we can begin defining the requirements for SWEEP 0 and getting that next standard developed. So we have a number of committees that can be that you can participate in. As a member, you get a seat on 3 committees and can help us define the future of sustainable materials management. It's not too late to join the pilot project. We'll probably be having our doors open for pilots for the next month or 2. So if you're interested in being a pilot, learning more, we would be happy to schedule a time with you and make a presentation more in depth about what the actual requirements are and what it means being in the pilot program. Next slide, please. So we have a number of committees, not going to go into too much detail, but basically looking at the overview of the standards, and then technical committees looking at the individual technical performance categories, and then ad hoc committees on source reduction, waste characterization, and waste generation disposal, ensuring that these requirements are spelled out properly, that the definitions have been vetted, that the calculation processes have been established, et cetera. Next, please. So we have a number of members from the private sector, public sector, nonprofits, equipment vendors, et cetera. So we are a big tent organization. We have tried to keep our dues low and tried to keep our certification fees low so that there is easy access and that affordability is not one of the barriers to participation. Next, please. Benefits of membership include discounts on SWEEP products and services. We will have training and accreditation coming probably in the next year or so. As I mentioned before, you can participate in up to 3 committees and help define the future of sustainable materials management. We also get articles placed in a number of publications. And next slide, please. We also have a webinar. Okay, we have a webinar, which is also part of it. If you decide to join the pilot, we are testing both the technical and administrative elements. We are looking for not only geographic diversity, but size diversity and, if you will, density diversity. So we're looking for urban, suburban, rural from a variety of geographies and a variety of sizes ranging from small to large. And similarly, industry partners that deal with similar kinds of activities. Go ahead, next slide, please. Thank you. So our goal is to develop ground truth for the criteria. It's all well and good to sit in a room and think up things, but you never know actually what's going to happen in practice until you get it out there. So in addition to developing that ground truth, we're using this time to finalize, develop, and improve all of the support collateral to spread awareness about SWEEP and its impact, which includes engaging a lot of youth in helping develop the sweep standard. We've worked with college students at both the undergraduate and graduate level from organizations all across the United States. And so we're trying very hard to give agency to, involve, and train the next generation of sustainable materials management professionals. Next. So this is just a map of where our pilot participants are. You'll be able to look at it with more leisure. Next, please. So benefits are of being a pilot and also being certified is basically you can tell your constituents, whether they're the market or whether they are your residents, that your program is performing in an advanced way with independent third-party verification. We believe that implementing the measures that are in SWEEP will result in significantly reduced costs of materials management programs. And with all the safety, the training, and the involvement, we believe that liability reduction and labor shortages can be mitigated somewhat. Next slide, please. In addition, it demonstrates and identifies you as a leader and helps you develop what sustainable material management performance actually is with real programs and help get in front of the regulatory landscape. It's much easier to be the wave than to try and handle it when it comes to you. So it is our belief that voluntary performance standards such as SWEEP can help mitigate the need for mandatory regulations and allow the industry to, if you will, police itself. Next slide, please. So becoming certified under SWEEP, there's a pilot registration process. 30% of the fee is due up front and then 70% at the end. SWEEP will work with you to understand your system. We will have a kickoff meeting and then we will do a gap analysis. So we'll look at whatever we can find about your program and compare it with the existing criteria and give you an estimate of where your certification might come out. And then you gather and you collect the data and upload it, and then we will review it, fix any issues. Once the certification fee is paid, then you are SWEEP certified. Congratulations. Next. So we've had really good results from our pilots so far. One industry pilot participant has said joining the SWEEP Plus pilot program is an excellent opportunity for us to measure our current operational practices against a robust set of well-informed objective criteria. Next. And our local government has said something similar, that we have discovered that the SWEEP Plus standards framework offers a clear, methodical, strategic pathway to focus and prioritize our clean material initiatives. Next slide, please. So if you're interested in learning more about SWEEP, we'll send you some materials. Please give us your contact information. We'll set up a meeting, go over any questions you have, and hopefully welcome you on board either as a member or as a pilot participant. And that's it for me. Thank you very much, and look forward very much to hearing Bob's story about Chester County being one of our premier pilots.
Thanks, Rob. That was all very interesting and all great information to learn about SWEEP. Hopefully we've interested quite a few people on getting involved. Go ahead and take it away, Bob Watts from Chester County, right outside of Pennsylvania. Philadelphia.
Bob, you're on mute.
Thank you. We're in Pennsylvania. Chester County set up the Solid Waste Authority in 1984, and we've always been a leader in Pennsylvania in solid waste management. So it was natural for us to look towards the SWEEP standard. Next slide, please. And this is our front end sign that is being updated because we've changed our name since the landfill was purchased from the Lancaster Sanitary Landfill to the Lancaster Landfill. And now, next slide, please. Lancaster Landfill and Reclamation Center. And that's fine. This is our location. We're in the very corner of our county. And next slide, please. And many times I get the question, you know, why here? Why is the landfill here? Well, there was two quarries back in the 40s, and they became places for open dumps. And some things have certainly changed since then. And as I said, we're on the edge of the county. Next slide, please. And in 2019, the authority's board of directors adopted what I believe is the first goal for zero waste from a disposal facility in Pennsylvania. And as you see, we have population of close to 500,000 people we serve. Next slide, please. And we operate under a county ordinance, and that ordinance is designated site ordinance, or others will know it as flow control. And we serve the 49 northern municipalities in Chester County, and those constitute about 82% of the population of Chester County. Next slide, please. And then this is the most recent last year. In total, we dispose of over 366,000 tons. Of that, over 250,000 came from our county. And there was also, we use extensively alternate daily cover. We try to minimize using soil. So we use tarps, spray on cement, and also things like cleanups of contaminated soil that are approved by Department of Environmental Protection as a cover material rather than using virgin soil. Next slide, please. So we have a landfill gas collection system of over 200 wells and has been in use for just about 20 years, currently generating 3 megawatts of electricity. This is with our energy partner, EDL, and there are 7 customers that use medium BTU pipeline, and we're connected to another landfill. And this is one of the more complex landfill gas projects in the country, with over 50 pieces of equipment running on that. In addition, we power our reverse osmosis, our wastewater treatment system, in part with a 300 kilowatt AC solar project on top of one of the closed landfills. One of the things that we've done over the years is, again, to reduce our need for virgin soil, we've used 23 acres of exposed geomembrane cap, and that has significantly reduced the soil needs in the capping closure process. And we also, a significant portion of that is south-facing slope that we have interest from a solar developer to add some solar panels to that area. Next slide, please. And in addition, one of the things that we've done for over 20 years is invite the public into our facility, not only with an annual open house and tour of the entire facility, but every Sunday from May through October, we have a playground, we have 2 scenic overlooks, and a 6-mile nature trail. If you do a round trip, the whole thing. Next slide, please. And just a picture, we are in a relatively rural area, and we also have scenic overlook set up to serve the local community, who often arrive either by foot, bicycle, or horses. And we are surrounded by a lot of farmland, and we've used mechanically stabilized earth berms to minimize the horizontal growth of the landfills and to increase the use of the property for recreation purposes on the weekend. Next slide, please. And this is our second time to try to find a solution to help us to get closer to zero waste. We had been certified for 3 years under ISO 14001, the Environmental Management International Standard, which was very good, but really felt that the SWEEP Pilot Plus was much more effective in helping us with solid waste related reductions. Next slide, please. And in 2020, we developed our own zero waste plan with goals, and also use this as a document to reach out to schools, institutions, and municipalities. We serve as a resource to help them reduce the waste that's generated in their municipality. And we have also developed a grant system to go along with this. Next slide, please. And if you become one of our partners, we have our own certification system that we're working on to incentivize local municipalities. One of the things that we're seeing some success in is the majority of the municipalities in our service area have subscription service for waste collection. And we don't do any of the collection ourselves, but we're helping some of the municipalities reduce from sometimes a half a dozen people who are collecting waste, recyclable and yard waste every week, rather than having 6 companies, to reduce that to a one single hauler. And this gives the municipalities, we believe, much more control when they have a contract, and they can specify what data is turned over to the townships and where everything is managed, which is besides the waste that comes to us. Next slide, please. And part of what we've done is we've done waste characterization studies. This one's from 2017. We also have a similar one from 2020. Next slide, please. And we are looking at converting our landfill gas project into a renewable natural gas project. We also have started construction this year on a permanent household hazardous waste collection facility. We currently manage up to 6 one-day events a year throughout the county, but we do that April through October, and it's certainly convenient if it's near you, but we thought a permanent facility would give a lot more options for people who find themselves with household hazardous waste that needs disposal. Next slide, please. And we're working with the county to implement their climate action plan. And with our zero waste grant program, we have supported other composting projects. We have a yard waste composting project that we manage here, but some of the municipalities, find it less costly and easier to manage their own programs. So we support that. We've also supported education for folks that have come up with ordinances banning things like plastic bags. And we have been instrumental in getting Chester County to be a supporter of Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. Next slide, please. As I said, we believe this is more closely aligned with our goals and trying to get to zero waste in Chester County. And we also are working with the community through landfill gas, solar projects, and other projects to help communities' sustainability efforts. Next slide, please. And just to highlight, this is the last 5 years of data, and I know it's a little hard to see, but what I'm trying to show is that depending upon the year, the slides, the bars to the far left side are residential recycling, and then next to it, the gray slide is commercial recycling, and then the gold slide is the combination of that tonnage. You'll see some years we're certainly over a third of the waste. And we have seen a reduction in our pounds per person per day. And in 21, our municipal solid waste was just over 3 pounds per person per day. So we've seen a decrease over the years, and that's the direction we want to head. So that's all I had, and I'll turn it over to Sal.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the introduction earlier and inviting our team to be here today. I received a text from my colleague who will not be joining us, so I'll be covering his portion of the presentation as well. So a little bit about who is Mount Diablo Resource Recovery and what it is that we do. Next slide, please. We're a small to medium regional hauler of MSW, single stream recycling, organics, and construction and demolition roll-off service. We're a privately owned company, started here in Concord, California in the 30s, and we're still privately run today. We have approximately 360 employees, the majority of which are hardworking Teamsters that do a great job for us. We're very pleased that this past year, our employees certified our company as a great place to work right out of the gate. So we're very proud of that certification. We have dedicated in-house education, outreach, compliance, and community cleanup staff that work with our local jurisdictions and out in the community wherever possible. We also operate a post-collection facility in the city of Pittsburgh, which I'll discuss shortly. Next slide, please. So our core service area is the East Bay area of Northern California. Our core service areas, as you can see on the map, are the counties of Contra Costa and parts of Solano County. And we also, or the company and the owners of our company, are also part owners in joint venture with the family that handles the garbage in Napa and Napa County. And we're also a partner in a newly operational compost facility that takes place in Yolo County. So on the map that's on the screen, the areas that are in red are where we pick up all 3 carts, all 3 streams. And the area in green is where we're just a recyclables processor for a large portion of the county. Next slide, please. For that portion of the county where we are just a recyclables processor, we also operate a reuse program that we're very proud of, and that is through a joint powers authority by the name of Recycle Smart, which is made up of 6 different jurisdictions. Through this program, since inception, we've kept over 1,500 tons of reusable materials out of the landfill, and we're extremely, extremely proud that all of that material that is reusable are donated to free to those in need. It's a great program. We're really proud of it. The schools have benefited from it, fire victims, and it's just great to see that material kept out of the landfill. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, we operate a post-collection resource recovery facility in the city of Pittsburgh, California. As Rob mentioned earlier, Pittsburgh also happens to be a SWEEP pilot participant in the municipal category. Our facility today currently receives about 1,500 tons of material combined. We have an approximate 40-acre site, which includes our single stream material recovery facility, bale storage, public drop-off and self-haul, where we do floor sorting, pulling out metals, carpet, pads, wood, sending that over to our C&D area. Our facility obviously includes an area for MSW that comes indoor, bunkers for food waste. As mentioned, the construction and demolition processing. We have a separate green material processing area and a newly constructed maintenance facility for all of our on-site equipment and truck and trailers. As mentioned, of the 1,500 tons of material that come in, we have an approximate 89% diversion rate on our C&D material, 74% diversion rate on recyclables, and we're proud to say we've had a 100% diversion rate on green waste and organics going back quite a ways. Our company has never, ever sent green waste to the landfill to be used as alternative daily cover. We have only sent properly processed construction and demolition material that has no other higher and better use. It should be noted, our company does not own a landfill, and it is our business model to do whatever we can to not send material to the landfill. We have dedicated recycled water that we've partnered with the local wastewater treatment plant that's less than a mile away. We use that for all dust and fire suppression. And that wastewater treatment facility also runs the local HHW facility. Currently, our fleet runs all on renewable diesel in an effort to lower our carbon footprint. In California, for those of you that are aware, we are headed towards a zero emission fleet regulations, which are expected to be adopted by the California Air Resources Board in the spring. So of course, we're going to be looking for whatever opportunities we can at our facility to turn residuals into fuel and to lower our carbon footprint further. Over the past 20 years, we've invested over $200 million in diversion-related activities and purchases, which is a lot for a small, private, family-owned company. But we are very lucky that we have long-term agreements with our with our local cities. We're lucky that we're always supported in going after programs that are available, whether it be grants, sales tax exemptions on resource recovery equipment. And again, these are all secured through our long-term agreements that we have with our local municipalities. Next slide, please. Recently, during the pandemic, the timing wasn't great, but we pulled the trigger in the month of December, right before the pandemic, on a major retrofit of our materials recovery facility. The project should have taken less time, but because of the pandemic, it took a little longer than expected. But we reinvested in our materials recovery facility to maximize the value of the commodities, especially in the wake of the China national sword and the changing global commodity markets. We are now producing what we feel to be a more efficient, better quality commodity for the market, with the ability to serve all of our communities long into the future. Next slide, please. Also, during the pandemic, and to further demonstrate our company's commitment and investment to resource recovery, we received all the discretionary environmental approvals, which will expand our post-collection facility in Pittsburgh. These approvals include a master plan with a 15 to 20-year phase-out, fully approved environmental impact reports, conditional use permits, as I mentioned, development agreement, which allow us to phase in these approvals. And with the additional acreage, buildings, land, and processes that were analyzed, our permitted capacity will go all the way up to 5,500 tons per day from the current 1,500 tons. Next slide, please. And, this is a video. We don't have to click and play here, but during the pandemic, we were very proud of our hardworking men and women. And we've been evolving our brand into a brand locally that is trusted, proven, and essential, because during the pandemic, our hardworking men and women did not miss one collection route. They did not miss one pickup. They answered the phone, and we worked 100% of the time, demonstrating our continued commitment to the communities that we serve. So back to SWEEP and why are we here today? At Mount Diablo Resource Recovery, as I mentioned, we don't own a landfill. Our mission statement is to serve our communities and environment responsibly by optimizing the use of all discarded materials. Our vision for our company is to be the leader in waste and recycling services and to be the premier post-collection processor. We know we have a little ways to go, but we know that our approvals, our entitlements, and our partnership with our local jurisdiction will help get us there. So when we first heard about SWEEP, we immediately felt that this certification was in absolute alignment with both our mission and our vision, and perhaps SWEEP would help guide us through the phasing and implementation of our long-term vision that we have for our resource recovery park. We're confident that in an industry where we're surrounded by a lot of publicly traded companies, that SWEEP and the bar that it sets will help set us apart from our competition. And we hope that more communities and joint powers authorities locally embrace SWEEP as part of the evaluation of their procurement process. A lot of people are familiar with LEED. I came from the development industry prior to joining the solid waste industry over 12 years ago, and being very familiar with LEED in real estate, there were a lot of institutional clients and customers where their corporate policies would not allow them to rent a building or lease a building or come into one of our office buildings unless they were LEED certified. And again, we hope SWEEP eventually is viewed that way within our industry, and that it really sets the bar on the expectation. I mentioned at the start of the presentation, my colleague Bart, who's our Director of Environmental Health and Safety, was not able to join us. He emailed me a few points before he got on his flight that I would just like to read off from his viewpoint. Bart has been the one that has been actually compiling the data from a lot of our various departments and helping us achieve our first score. So these are Bart's quotes. "The process of SWEEP allows us to work at our own pace, which is very much appreciated, to ensure that all of our business practices and operations are being properly evaluated." Bart says the process validates the sustainable programs and policies, some of which we already have in place, but it has helped us qualify and score what we consider to be some of the low-hanging fruit and some of the things that we were already doing. The process has prompted an acceleration towards completing some of these planned and beneficial practices. The process has helped us reevaluate and optimize some activities at our post-collection facility. It has helped us ensure optimal continuity across our different departments. It has touched on everything from customers to vehicle idle times, to the type of fuel we're using in our fleet, to consumption trends. It has touched on routing with us. You know, we've recently optimized smart tablets in all of our vehicles to ensure that we're being as efficient as possible. It has helped us identify our practices with water use, hours of operation, facility engineering, energy management, and so on. He also states, to the extent which SWEEP certification helps us to reevaluate where our business falls within the state of California regulations, truly is ongoing. As everyone knows, if you're from California, we have some of the most progressive policies in the country, and we feel that this will help keep us ahead of the curve instead of always being behind it and reactionary. Our vision as a company is to continue going through the process to eventually achieve the highest level possible. And like all other businesses, we are extremely dependent upon local trends. And again, we hope that this is a trend that will become the standard in our industry, and also to set the bar. And those are some bullets that I had from my colleague Bart. And those remarks conclude my portion of the presentation, and I thank you for helping to operate the slide deck.
Excellent. I want to thank you very much, Bob and Sal, and of course, Rob Watson, for y'all taking the time to tell us what it was like joining the SWEEP pilot. It's always great to hear from municipalities that are accelerating zero waste initiatives through directives and mandates. Because when it's done in this way, it better assures all hands are on deck and propels the work, taking it further, in my opinion. So we're going to actually be exiting this little webby here, this webinar at 1:42. And so we've got time for some questions, about 5 minutes, if anyone has anything they want to share. I'm not sure if you can all just unmute yourself and chat, but I've had one or two in the chat here. Let's see. But I think, yeah, I think were you able to answer the one about glass, I believe, Rob? I think that's the one I saw, one about glass.
Yeah, Bob mentioned a company called Aero Aggregates, which takes glass that is so finely ground that it's not really usable as cullet, and then they turn that into a lightweight foam aggregate, which can be used for construction projects. Given the demand for lightweight construction, there's going to be a big market for that. Reusing glass is really going to be that's a commodity product, and so it's always going to be competing against virgin glass, and so it's going to continue having a hard time with value in that respect. I mean, there's not a gigantic advantage to recycled glass compared to standard glass, so the lightweight aggregate could be a very interesting option.
Thank you. It looks like someone else is asking if SWEEP can have international members.
We absolutely welcome international members for SWEEP. At present, for the pilot, we're not going to be doing certifications internationally yet, but we would definitely value from international experience and best practices.
Yeah, do you want me to just tell people to continue to reach out at info@sweep?
Yeah,
Standard.org?
info@sweepstandard.org would be the place to make inquiries, and then we will get back to you and work with you.
Excellent. There's also a question about how students as individuals can get involved with SWEEP.
Yes, we have a number of student consulting groups. A lot of universities and colleges have these consulting groups that are offered for credit. If there are colleges or universities that have groups that want to get involved with SWEEP, you will be doing real work. And so if anybody is a member of such a group and would like to participate in SWEEP, they are welcome to do that. We have spaces for a couple of interns, as well as we do offer 1 or 2 paid internships during the summer. And then during the rest of the year, we offer internships for credit or, for academic credit. Or if you just want to volunteer and get some experience, I guarantee you'll be doing some interesting stuff.
Excellent.
Just on the credit, people are pretty interested in glass. We do not give credit for glass as used for ADC, alternative daily cover. That is not considered diversion under SWEEP. So we are trying to incentivize the creation of markets for recovered glass. And in addition, if there are reuse programs that are either implemented or supported by either companies or local government jurisdictions, and that can be, just helping with advertising or, general support. Those kinds of programs are also credited under SWEEP.
And someone's saying to please incentivize reuse of glass.
Well, similarly, we incentivize folks to create material conversion and recovery and processing facilities closer to the end market as opposed to far away. So if you have a supply chain where you're sending any recovered material, the closer it is to you, the more credit you get.
And we may have to wrap it up. Unfortunately, it's been told to me to let you all go back into the main stage at 142, 143. So thanks for all of your questions and for attending this webinar. It's been a really great to see for myself and also to hear some of your really great, your great interest in what they're doing over in Sweden. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Bob and Sal, and thank you so much, Amanda, for having us here. We appreciate the opportunity. And thanks for all the
This
great
was great.
questions and participation.
Yes, thank you all. This has been great.
Okay. Enjoy the rest of the day, everyone.
Bye. See you all in the main room.